$300. She goes, well, if she did 300, she did it. First she worked 300 hours on it, it's gonna go a lot more than the first 8 hours on it. So, like, that way it's like a feature I took for granted that I don't have now. I don't access it.
Because I could easily just go to HR and say, give me the work on
It's also critical, like I said, unless you know it's a project management. They don't know, like, I can't filter like
So, you know, Giovanni's already
Oh, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So he's gonna, you know, you can just do that, and if I'm gonna walk over here and just talk a
Okay.
little bit. And then, you know, if you need to move for some
Mhm.
reason, we'll do that.
You want to start?
It's already, I think.
No, right now. Like, I don't see how. Oh, there's that.
Okay.
¿Ya? ¿Sí?
Jaime, José Montes de Oca.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Mucho gusto. Construimos networks de comunicación. Los últimos 29 años. El año que entra compramos 30 años.
All right, guys. Looks like some people still trying to get here. My apologies for the messed up with the address. I think that's what's happening. I sent an address yesterday, an update and all that. Looks like the other place is like in the middle of nowhere on the middle of the highway or something like that. But thank you for coming. We are recording this, so it's going to be a lot of people watching this. Very excited about what we're going to be hearing tonight. You know, the 495 I-270 project, which is amazing with Shawn, 5G technology with Verizon, and the Maglev, which I'm excited about that too, because imagine having the fastest train in the world, and you know, we be in the map worldwide. So this kind of thing, and Gabriel, you know, thank you for sponsoring this event, you know, RNG, and you know, so we're just gonna go through the whole thing. I'd like to have Gabriel just talk a little bit about his business, what they do, and what they can offer to like this type of projects, you know, in terms of insurance and all that. So go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Marco.
Let me get the
slide.
slides.
That
Yeah.
would be good. But yeah, well, RNG Insurance is a broker. We're independent agents, and we're in the market, and we were formed in 2001. It was John Rogers and Frank Goldbach who formed our company back in 2001, and in partnership with Nationwide, we opened our first office in Baltimore. We now have 5 offices and done over 7 acquisitions, one of the largest independent agencies in Maryland. I was talking with Jaime a little bit in Marco, letting you guys know we insure projects or clients that are involved in similar projects as the ones that we're going to be talking today, like the Purple Line and things like that. So RNG over the 20 years has become one of the leaders on the insurance broker world, and that's where we do our corporate offices here in Maryland. We are, which slide you are the next probably, but we are a very multicultural agency with more than 36 agents now, partner with chambers like the Maryland Chambers and some others here in the DMV, as well as involved with other organizations for homeowners insurance and things like that. But we are big in business insurance. We partner with the top carriers in the industry. We have more than 20 companies that we can work with access to general liability, workers' compensation, bonds, and all kinds of insurance that a contractor doing this kind of projects will need. So that's a little bit about our agency. We're very involved with the community as well. We do events where we, partner with local associations and things like that. So again, welcome to our office, and we're happy to have you guys here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was easy. That was
Fly
easy.
through it, right?
Yeah. So now I'd like to have Alan come in and just introduce our first speaker. Go ahead, Alan.
Great. Thank you, Marcos. Good to be here. Certainly, my name is Alan Gutierrez, part of the board of directors, Maryland Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and certainly look forward to a very informative information, and certainly that transportation and other things are near and dear for us on our daily lives in that aspect. But certainly, our first guest speaker is Shawn. I'm gonna botch your last name, so there we go. He serves as the Director of Strategic Communications and Intergovernmental Affairs for the I-495 and 270 P3 office. Is that all on your business card like that?
It probably is.
So certainly with the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration, he's responsible for building new and maintaining current relationships with elected officials, mobilizing diverse groups of business and community leaders, and managing the communication team for the Maryland Traffic Relief Plan. Shawn started his career as a public service as policy advisor for the in the office of the Governor Larry Hogan. Within this role, he supported an oversight of 15 state departments, cabinet agencies, primarily in the areas of transportation, economic development, energy, and taxation. So it sounds to me like he never really gets a lot of sleep. Certainly, he in 2017, he was with First Lady Yumi Hogan on a trade and diplomatic mission to South Korea and successfully attracted 2 Korean companies to Maryland. So congratulations on that. Certainly, international trade is near and dear for me as well. Shawn continued engagement with executives from South Korea, corporations including Hyundai Motor Company, Asiana Airlines, Korean Electric Power Corporation, and the Embassy of the Republic of Korea. So Shawn is a recipient of 2 governor's citations for state service and community service. He holds a BS degree in biological science, neurobiology, and psychology, and a BA degree in economics from the University of Maryland, College Park, and is a proud lifelong Marylander. So Shawn, floor is yours.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, and thank you, RG Insurance, for hosting us here today. And of course, my good friend Marco, thank you for the invitation and having us here today. So I also have, I also like to recognize my colleague Rich Parsons. He's also part and member of our P3 office, and he's going to be joining us here today as part of this presentation. I'm going to try my best to do this presentation. I know it's right behind my head, but
There you
oh, I see it there. But again, thank you very much for joining us here today. This is a project that's certainly very important for the region. As Marco and I were joking right before this, some of us may have been stuck on 495 or 270 trying to get here, stuck in the congestion. And the Governor Larry Hogan and Transportation Transportation Secretary Greg Slater have really built this ambitious plan to relieve congestion in the National Capital Region. So on the next slide, our agenda slide here today, I know looks like there's some familiar faces, and certainly we love meeting with the Hispanic Chamber. And so there's some material that we knew here today, and just go through a crash course of our new brand, which we launched just the other month. We're calling Up Lanes Maryland, and we're going to show you a little bit about that. My colleague here, Rich, is going to talk about the environmental study that's currently underway. So as part of this by federal law, we are required to complete environmental review, formerly known as the National Environmental Policy Act. And the one that we're underway is the Managed Lanes study. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and probably most importantly, opportunities for engagement, how you can comment on what you've heard here today to our Maryland Department of Transportation, and of course, more importantly, how to get involved. And so Rich and I are going to be here available after this meeting to network and exchange business cards if you'd like, but we'll get right into it.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to mention, because of the stage of the project right now and the NEPA efforts and all that, there's not going to be public questions but they're happy to stay behind, before, after the presentation and talk one-on-one if you have any specific questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Marco. So this is what the new American Legion Bridge I-270 traffic relief plan is. And as I mentioned, we are introducing what's known as Op Lanes Maryland. And instead of telling you what it is, pictures worth 1,000 words, and we've prepared a short little video here to
That's
introduce
right.
it.
Here we go.
Providing options and opportunities for travelers and local businesses is what Uplanes Maryland is all about. It's a public-private partnership, which means the state of Maryland works together with private businesses to develop efficient and innovative ideas. It actively studies how any potential solution would relieve traffic, affect the environment, and improve safety before moving forward. It saves taxpayers money by allowing the private sector to supply financing for construction projects, including the much-needed replacement of the aging American Legion Bridge. And it creates new jobs and economic growth throughout the region, from the Virginia side of the American Legion Bridge up I-270 to Frederick, Maryland. The result? A transportation system that works better for all of us, giving parents the option of using managed lanes so they can pick up their child at daycare on time. Contractors the opportunity to take on additional service calls each workday and continue growing their business. Buses and carpools with 3 or more people free access to all lanes anytime. And bicyclists and pedestrians improve connections on area paths and trails. With Uplanes Maryland, whenever you truly can't be stuck in traffic, you won't have to be. Learn more about how the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration is developing exciting options and opportunities for all at uplanesmd.com.
That was really great.
Awesome.
Thank
I
you.
feel like dancing.
Yeah. So this is as the video mentioned, a P3, a public-private partnership. And certainly we're looking to the private sector, everyone here today, for really your expertise and the third P, partnership. And so we're so thankful that you guys are here today. And on the next slide, you will see what we're actually proposing here. So this traffic relief plan, it's not colored here on the video, but excuse me, on the map, but you may be familiar with the 495 Next program, which is currently underway by the Virginia Department of Transportation. So their managed lane system, if you've traveled on it, are 2 high octane toll lanes, and it ends at the Dulles Toll Road. And so they're proposing to build all the way to the George Washington Memorial Parkway, and that's where our project begins. So this is over 35 miles of interstate. It's a pretty large piece, and this phase 1, we've split it up into 2 pieces. We're referring to as phase 1 South and phase 1 North. So phase 1 South is everything you see in blue. That's currently the administration's focus right now. Again, this starts at the George Washington Memorial Parkway and includes a rebuilt, wider American Legion Bridge. Probably the biggest choke point between all our 2 states, and I know our colleague here over at US DOT knows well about this. Is probably one of the biggest choke points in the country. And so we plan to rebuild the American Legion Bridge, continue on 495 to I-270, and ends at 370 in Gaithersburg. The phase 1 North section would continue up from 370 and continue all the way to I-70 in Frederick, which is everything in orange there. And the reason it's split up that way, and Rich is going to talk about the environmental study, but that's where the limits of the study ended. And it does include, if you're wondering why it includes those 2 spurs, we really have to tie into existing conditions. And actually the most common trip on the northbound side is starting at the American Legion Bridge and actually staying on 495 and heading east on the I-270 East spur. So essentially going from Virginia towards Silver Spring and Tacoma Park. But really the main reason why this project is being proposed is because we all know what traffic congestion does. It really chokes the quality of life. And it's quite frankly, I think we can all agree, it's pretty miserable to be stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. A recent trip report from just a few years ago looked at Maryland traffic and found that the average traveler spends about 87 hours of their time stuck in traffic. That's almost the equivalent of 2 business weeks that really you're doing nothing else other than just sitting there. This is time we can all imagine everyone here is family members. If you have young children, you might end up missing a soccer game. I know I'm back into the travel life again with my kids, or for your business. Hopefully you'll be able to add extra service calls and built in smaller delivery windows to be able to do more business. But there's a cost to that as well. So for this region, in the National Capital Region, it's averaging around $2,000 per person, depending on the value of time for that person. So what Uplands, Maryland is proposing is to reduce congestion and facilitate really the more efficient travel movement of goods and services and people. As public stewards of the state transportation system, we're not only planning for it today, but planning for tomorrow as well. And we're looking through 2045, and the Metropolitan Washington Council of Government expects about 1.3 million people and 1 million more jobs by 2045. And just to give some perspective of what that means is that's the equivalent of the city of Dallas, Texas, all moving into the National Capital Region. And as you can imagine, as bad as it is today, without additional capacity and really congestion relief, you can imagine what that will be like in the future. And as I mentioned several times, this is a P3, and the private investment is really an important component of this. So we've selected a private partner called Accelerate Maryland Partners to join in on this. And there's going to be, for phase 1, a over $3 billion investment in this region. And a big piece of that will be coming from our local MBE and DBE community. So we're really looking for support from small, local, minority, women, veteran-owned businesses. Not only is the direct impact going to be more jobs, but on the public side, because the private sector is putting the capital investment in, we're also able to use those funds that normally would have been coming out of the Transportation Trust Fund for other projects statewide. So about $1.5 billion that would be used for really just to keep the roads in a state of good repair can now be used for other projects. On the next slide, as I mentioned, these are high occupancy toll lanes. And what this means is, so the travelers on these hot lanes, we are working to have, they would expect about 45 miles per hour travel or more on the system. And as part of this program, we are allowing transit vehicles to travel for free. So if you're WMATA or MDOT, their bus systems wouldn't be charged to ride our system. And in addition, if you've been on the Virginia system on 495, you know that if you have 3 or more passengers, you can use the EasyPass Flex transponder and you get a completely free trip. The same will be true for Maryland as well. So grab you and your family or you and a couple coworkers on the way to work. Regardless of what the toll is, it will be completely free. And probably most importantly, the general purpose lanes. So those are the free lanes. The general purpose lanes that exist today will be free tomorrow. So that's one thing we always want to make sure everyone's aware of. On the next slide, I mentioned Accelerate Maryland Partners. Unfortunately, they weren't able to, my colleague wasn't able to join us here today from Accelerate Maryland Partners, but just a quick overview of what they proposed. And this is, these are commitments that were provided, I would sort of call, I guess, beyond the lanes, beyond the managed lanes itself. And so it's an ambitious, very well thought out package that includes, you can see on that sort of first sub bullet, $145 million development rights payment. So that's a check that goes to the state. A chunk of that will be used to pay the state's accounts payable, but a lot of it will be returned right back into Montgomery County and be used for other transit and transportation purposes. In addition, and this is just for that phase 1 south corridor, so all in Montgomery County, is $5 million for Vision Zero and at least $300 million for transit services, $50 million in community grants and $25 million for emerging technologies over the operating term. There are also, as I mentioned, DBEs are an important part of this program, and so they're proposing a comprehensive approach to local contract opportunities and workforce development. As part of the pre-development, we've set a 26% DBE goal. And this pre-development will continue through the next year that Rich is going to show you the timeline for during his portion. But that last bullet, we are aiming to deliver phase 1 south with no net cost to the state. And so here I'm going to hand it on over to Rich Parsons.
Thank you, Shawn. I'm going to drill down a little bit more on the first of the studies that's looking at each piece of this corridor. As Shawn mentioned, if you go to the next slide, the managed lane study is really the first section of phase 1 that Shawn mentioned, from the ICC or I-370 down to I-495 and across the American Legion Bridge. The study's limits also looked at the rest of the Capital Beltway around as far as Maryland 5. And that's the limits of the managed lane study. The plan was always to have some future studies that look at the remaining part of the Beltway that would bring it back over the Wilson Bridge south of town and the rest of I-270 north all the way to Frederick. So there would be future studies that would look at other sections of the plan. And if we go to the next phase, the next slide, you'll see kind of a diagram that illustrates what's in what's called the recommended alternative, or the preferred alternative is called Alternative 9, Phase 1 South. And this adds 2 new hot lanes, as Shawn mentioned, in most of these sections. And as you will see here, vehicles 3 or more passengers can travel for free. All the existing lanes remain free of charge, as Shawn also mentioned. But one of the key things is that this alternative allows you to travel free in those hot lanes as well if you're 3 or more passengers. And one little thing that we found in the 495 express lanes in Virginia is once they implemented this similar type of system, they saw a 550% increase in carpooling. So what you're really doing is not just expanding the lane capacity, you're using the existing lane capacity there much more efficiently because you've got a lot more passengers per car. And we're hoping to try to replicate that kind of a boost in ride sharing as